Well, this is going to be an updated review on this machine. My original review was back in, I think, 2020. Now after working some bugs out of it during that time, and also now got a 18-foot Haybine head for it. So getting a lot more familiar with it, what's going on with it. So make sure to watch part 1 first if you're interested, I guess. So, you know, a lot of those things that I said before probably still kind of stand, but with a couple differences though. So we'll get started here. On this updated review, I'm not gonna go over everything that I did before. I'm just gonna try to just more or less a revision of sorts. I actually installed a battery isolator on it because it even says to disconnect the batteries if not gonna use it for extended period of time. But pretty much this machine, after a month, it'd be completely dead. So I installed a heavy duty isolator here. That's worked good. So I installed that. Should have one on no matter what. These little wires here I talked about in a different video, which I'll have in the description below. That's it for there. Underneath here we got a little storage compartment. It's a little lever here. Flips up. It's not sealed. It's very dirty, so that's why I got a little mini toolbox in here. I wish I had a bigger one, but I got sections and whatnot, header stuff in there, so nice extra just storage. So I guess it's not very clean. It's not sealed or anything. It's kind of a hickory dickory thing. Hocus pocus. Could be a little bit better. At least there's something there though. Header lock to lock it up in the race position. Forward is unlocked. Back is fully locked. If you cannot get it to lock or unlock, I guess it depends. This thing is Draper ready. It's got the Draper ready option on here. So they got an extra set of cylinders up here. The cut height cylinders, they call these. They call them cut height cylinders. If it doesn't want to lock or unlock, you might have to run those cut height cylinders a little bit because they might be putting pressure on it. So I think they pretty much have to be all the way down for them to, or very close to all the way down. It's a little finicky there. It's kind of right in that area. Then it'll lock and unlock easy then. So, of course, this has hydraulic tilt on it. Here's, for hooking and hooking up the headers, it's got a switch here to be able to manually run it from outside the machine for hooking up the header. This only works when it's in header removal mode. The switch only works then. And of course, if your valves are all good, you know, that's another thing that I will get to. So that makes it a lot easier hooking up headers. The very important finicky hydraulic block. Plus, this is Draper ready, so it's got an extra valve block here for running Drapers. So problem number 1 that we've had issues with, as I talked in my first review, talked about we had a bad valve on here. This one right here, this valve was bad when we first got the machine, as well as some seals were blown in some of these valves where nothing would work properly. So this thing is very important. If you're having any wonky hydraulic issues, you gotta figure out what's not working properly, and then look in the book and the charts for these solenoid engagements and see what controls what's all tied in with everything, and then start from there then. But what I would first do, if you're not sure where to start with the right-hand master first and the left-hand master, and work your way from there is what I would start with. When we first got it, you know, a couple seals were blowing on a couple of these, but this valve was bad and it would not allow the tilt to work. And now, just recently here, another valve, master valve, went bad. So that's 2 OEM valves went kaput. So this is kind of some known issues here with these machines, is the valve block here. They like to blow seals on the valves, backing rings, and I guess the valves just like to break on these things. So like I say, I don't know about the original owner before us, because we bought this machine when it had 615 hours on back in 2019. And now I'll look at the hours. I think it's over 900, or is it close to 900 now? But so I don't know what's happened to this thing before we had it, but I can tell you though is that, you know, we've replaced two valves now, two of the main valves. Only thing I wish was easier to see is the tilt cylinder. You gotta you gotta lean ahead to be able to see it. I mean, they do got markings here on here, but I put some colored zip ties up here and a broken rake tooth to kind of give me kind of do a new marker, so I don't have to lean forward as far. I could just kind of, when we're going down the field, especially with this header isn't as bad, but I don't need the tilt as much. But it's for the Draper Head though. It kind of sits a little different, and I can actually just lean over here and be able to see where my tilt is at a little bit better as kind of a quick glance at things. Sometimes I'll still lean way forward and make sure it's still, you know, marked correctly, but yeah, it just makes it a little bit easier for me. But I did install a camera that's underneath the machine that points towards the rear of the header, so I can watch the windrow shields, the conditioner, how the windrow's forming, and so I can watch it, make sure everything looks kind of hunky-dory. There's kind of like a extra set of eyes down there, be able to see what's going on. Oh yeah, hydraulic oil temperature. One thing I want to talk about. The Draper Head is actually back in the corner there, but I don't need to really go over that machine really at all. I kind of went over it in my previous review, so there's not much more to look at that, except for one thing I would like to mention on that thing. The one main valve block on there that controls the knife speed and the, well, yeah, it does control the knife speed, but it's also for the reel as well, oil delivery for it. Make sure that thing's in good working condition, or else things just won't work right. You will run higher hydraulic pressure, or, well, I guess, yeah, higher hydraulic pressure, that's true, yeah. Run higher hydraulic pressure and higher hydraulic temperatures if the relief valve and or the other valve is not functioning correctly inside that valve block, and drop the knife speed where it should be. It was actually running too fast. That thing was not set correctly, and I mentioned before in my previous review of this machine is that this hydraulics ran warm on this thing, like on a hot day, like 90 plus degrees, not much wind, it would get over 190 degrees on the hydraulic oil, which is, for me, anything over 180, actually quite honestly, anything over 170 is starting to get too hot for me, quite honestly. I think it's something over 180 degrees, the oil loses its properties or starts breaking down more rapidly. Having trouble with those valves back here, and then of course now finding out that on that header stuff was wrong with that valve block on there, and yeah, fixed that. Dropped our knife speed where it should have been, because when I was reading the knife speed on this thing, I just was like, that seems kind of high. I'm like, is it showing correct? I didn't know if it was showing correct, so I actually got a laser thingy. Got all that stuff fixed. Now, when the Draper Head runs, it usually gets around 160 degrees, or I think I've seen it up to get like 164. Maybe my radiators weren't fully clean, but that was on a hot day. So I pretty much essentially dropped the temperatures 25 to 30 degrees. And then when this thing runs, this Haybine head, when it runs, it just gets around, on a warm day, gets around 150, a little more than 150 degrees on the hydraulic oil. So, I mean, we dropped those temps quite a bit. So, and also fixing those valves too on the Draper Head and this thing seems like it has more power than too, because that leakage, pressure relief valves are working properly. Yeah, you can gain some ponies back. So for this, just a 4-cylinder, 126 horsepower engine. Now it handles both these heads pretty good. Handles it just fine. Only place where I may struggle a little bit if we have some hills, some place you got to go up a hill. Yeah, wish I had a little more power. Then you got to kind of back off then a little bit. So, but yeah, we gained power back on this machine. So, and the engine this thing's pretty good with fuel. Very good with fuel. Another thing on this thing, going down the road with this thing kind of sucks. You know, I only go, I mean, it can go a little bit faster. Maybe it can go 15 miles an hour if you're max RPM, but I usually only go around 13. Depends on the road, I'll go a little slower, but you got to be paying attention to what you're doing when you're driving this thing. If you get slightly off, you lose control, you're pretty much going to be done. So, it's a little swirly. You get, the more you drive it, the more you get used to it. What what you do, how to drive it. You gotta watch out for if your biggest thing is when you're going downhill. Just be mindful, think, back off on speed. But I've heard the newer ones, like the new series, are far better, far improved, kind of like the way McDonald's are, John Deere's are. They go down the road pretty good, so I've heard they go pretty good down the road. Oh yeah, with my windrow shields too. Since I got my Haybine head, I got these windrow shields. They're pretty easy to put on. Easy to adjust. Just a mechanical. They're not hydraulic. They're not hydraulic controlled, which I kind of wish they were sometimes. But pretty easy mechanical. Just pin system. Pretty simple. Pretty easy. Nothing to it. So easy peasy. Now for this thing. This is an 18-foot Haybine head for it. I guess you should. Haybine heads are nothing new, so I'll just go through it real quick. This is for the conditioner roll pressure, as in I think there's a torsion spring or something that maintains constant gap for these conditioner rolls. The higher pressure you have, the more it will try to keep that gap. But it all depends though on the type of crop. Like if it's a thicker stem crop, yeah, you might have to run a little higher pressure, but I'm just using it mainly for alfalfa. I run a little bit less pressure. It's basically watching the leaves on the plant. Make sure you're not bruising the leaves too much, but still getting breaks on the stems and the stalks. So next panel here for greasing, quite a few grease points. A knuckle there, U-joint. This is the jack for unhooking. It's pretty easy to unhook since this machine has a quick attach on here instead of using a bolt and pin to go through the cups. Yeah, we just have a quick attach and it's a little bit easier. Left hand side here, of course, you got the main wobble box here. This is a dual drive, sickle drive. This left hand side, very important to grease these things. Super important. There's, of course, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and on the opposite side of this too, on the bottom, from the bottom, number 8. Those are probably the most important grease zerks on this machine. Then the rest follow suit then. So this is for your reel speed adjustment, just all mechanical here. Just basically, you actually spin this sprocket or spin this pulley. Once you loosen this bolt, it's actually on threads here. Spin it one way or the other to either increase or decrease your reel speed. Everything's documented in the book on how to do that. So this is for the auger drive in there. That's that chain there. And then this is for the reel drive then chain. Reel drive gets its speed. First goes through this belt system here first. That's how you can adjust the speed. And then it goes to a chain drive then for powering the reel then. So for adjusting reel fore and aft, there's a bunch of bolts to loosen up and everything and adjust. So how to move this back, up or down. Same way with that thing. Bolts on either side to be able to move it up or down or back to get it alignment, which I had to finagle with quite a bit the first year I ran it to get this thing kind of set where I want it, and now it works pretty darn good. So the short stuff still doesn't feed in quite as good, even though I got the thing set back pretty good and everything, but still works, still does a pretty good job though. It does a really good job on short stuff, as I noticed this year. Pretty much the same, if not a little bit better than the bar mowers do. It's pretty much right there. I've been very impressed with the cut quality of this machine. It's on par with the bar mowers. So push bar up front, it's kind of an overlooked thing. Basically what this push bar does, for those that don't know, it basically is supposed to keep the crop pushed away from the reel so the reel doesn't catch it too soon and gets too far ahead of the knife. That's where kind of your ground speed, reel speed and your push bar location kind of help this machine, you know, how to have this machine all timed together. Because if your reel is grabbing the crop too soon, like you have too much reel speed, or you're going too slow, the reel can get too far ahead and it can cause it to wrap maybe, which I haven't had any issues yet. I think where it dumps it, the way the cams are set right now, I think it's pretty good. Haven't really had any trouble with any wrapping. But short crop can't be helped, but taller crops especially though, that push bar is important to keep that crop away from the reel so the knife can get it cut first, and then the reel can grab it and throw it in then. This side's a little bit simpler, of course. Right hand wobble box here. The left hand, there's actually a shaft underneath here that goes to the left hand side then, that powers that wobble box. It doesn't actually get its power from that side, it actually gets its shaft, goes over there, and then the auger and the reel get its power on that side then, coming off the conditioner roller over there. There's that shaft that goes over there, but it's just so the wobble boxes are together then. That's it basically for over here then. Of course, there's some bolts for adjusting when you got to adjust stuff all over. This side is the hydraulic motor, drive motor in here. I guess I can't get the hoser in the way, can't get it up, but self-explanatory. Hydraulic motor there. Couple shafts there for the conditioner rollers and everything. Speed sensors in here. Here's your top baffle adjustment here. Put it up and down. What I found out is I gotta have it set up pretty much right here. Second to the top hole. I can use the windrow shields more, but if I have it set at this setting, or even one more, this setting to use the windrow shields get used a little bit. The crop hits them a little bit. If I put it down here, then it's going to pretty much deflect it straight down then for the widest windrow possible then. Reason why I went with a Haybine head. Our bar mowers, this knife on here, basically the same knife, same sections or similar style sections, similar parts. The overlap kit on this thing is the same as on the Draper Head, same overlap kit, same knife on there too. Only thing different is the knife head is just a little bit different, but pretty much same design, same guards, same tie downs, same everything between the Draper, this machine, and our bar mowers. So parts are pretty similar. Number two, cost, cheaper than a disc mower. Number three, well, horsepower. Yeah, I could have gotten a pull type, but I got this thing. Why not? Give this machine another use then. And number four, fire hazard. This thing could still cause a fire yet. The knife hitting rocks, especially when we had a dry year in June there, kind of high fire risk. And a disc mower, I don't think so. I wouldn't want to use it when it's that dry out. Too dangerous. You know, we don't have the thickest crops here most years from our soil and how many acres we run to. Basically, I got this thing for crimping. Can't go really fast down most fields because it's rough from pocket gophers and badgers and whatnot. So that's why I got a Haybine head instead. Yeah, it would be nice to have a disc mower maybe, but I don't know. I gotta have a bigger machine or get a pull type, but I gotta have a big higher horsepower machine, which costs more. I still wish we had it at McDon instead. I think those are better machines. Yeah, like I say, getting bugs worked out of it, and then running good. Ran great last year. We used it, ran phenomenal. But now we had another valve go bad. So oh yeah, and on this thing, it's got skid shoes too. That's right. Got to mention that it's got skid shoes, skid plates. I think it's got 4 of them, two on each side. I think it's got 4 or 5 adjustment holes on each one. So I got it set at not the lowest setting, but the second to lowest setting I have it set at. And it's, for our terrain, yeah, it works good. If I have, you know, like when I'm cutting the pasture over here, there's a couple solid rocks in the ground, or if there's some debris, you know, I'll have it set in the third setting then, just to have the knife up a little bit, then I can use my tilt, because I have a hydraulic tilt, and then I can use my tilt a little bit more then. But for the most part, for most of our land here, I have it set the second from the lowest setting, tilt it all the way back, and cuts exactly where I want to. And there's a shield underneath. Yeah, you can kind of see it right here. Right at the back of the throat here. Right at the back of the throat. You have the header lifted up all the way, locked up, and you can get underneath there. There's a couple bolts underneath. There's like a adjustable pan underneath where you can either widen this gap away between the conditioner rolls and the header, or you can narrow it. Basically, all that's for is you can adjust that in case you pick up debris or little rocks or something like that. And instead of it going through the conditioner rolls, it has a higher chance to just fall out of the header before it gets kicked in the conditioner rolls. So there's an adjustment there. I think I have it set on the middle setting. I think there's 3 settings on there. You can have it closer, middle, or really far away. But the thing is, if you have it too far away, the crop might not get to the conditioner rolls then. So I just have it set at the middle setting. And, you know, maybe it throws out, maybe it drops out a little bit of material. They don't get through the conditioner rolls, but it might just be shorter stuff. It doesn't really matter anyways. So. But I have it set in the middle setting and works pretty good. So, yeah, I think that's it for this machine. But I think there's better machines out there. Like Don and John Deere got better machines, but for what we need it for, this worked fine for the price. It's worked fine. I guess I don't plan on selling it anytime soon, so